What if the most ordinary feeling in the world, that familiar, nagging emptiness in your gut, is actually one of the most sophisticated, ancient survival alarms ever built into the human body? Let's dive right into this explainer, because the architecture of hunger is so much more than just an empty stomach. We need to dispel a really common myth right out of the gate. When people say, "Oh, I'm so hungry," they usually picture one basic, isolated physical sensation, a growling stomach. But actually, scratch that, it's not a solo act at all. Hunger is a massive chorus of different voices. Sure, it's your stomach, but it's also your intestines, your blood sugar, your pancreas, your liver, your fat tissue, and yes, even your memories and emotions, all speaking up at the exact same time. You're this incredibly complex living system, and hunger is just the result of all those tiny signals combining into one urgent message. So, what does this actually mean for us? Well, we have to look at the true biological purpose of this feeling. Hunger is, at its core, a sophisticated survival alarm. Its entire job is to maintain biological balance. Your body doesn't just want food, it craves stability. It needs enough energy to move, to think, to repair itself, and ultimately to survive. Deep inside your brain, there's a region called the hypothalamus, acting like a master command center. It's constantly monitoring your energy supply lines. And let me tell you, your hypothalamus does not care about your busy schedule, your new diet, or your 3 p.m. meeting. It cares entirely about survival. If your energy drops, it hits the alarm and boom, hunger gets louder. To really put this into perspective, think about the physical, chemical conversation happening inside you before you even consciously realize it's lunchtime. There are two main communicators here. On one side, we have ghrelin. You can think of this as the hunger hormone. When your stomach is empty, ghrelin levels spike, traveling all the way up to that command center in the brain to say, hey, we need to go find food. On the flip side is leptin, the satiety hormone. Leptin is linked to your fat tissue, and it's the one that taps the brain on the shoulder and says, we've got enough stored energy, you can stop eating now. In a perfectly healthy system, these two work in total harmony. But as we all know, modern human life is rarely perfectly balanced. And this brings us to a massive modern dilemma. We are living in the middle of a dramatic evolutionary mismatch. See, for almost all of human history, hunger was a literal life or death warning. Food was seasonal, uncertain, and honestly, really hard to get. So your biology became exceptionally good at protecting you from starvation. The problem, that biology did not evolve for today. It didn't evolve for a world where highly processed, hyperpalatable food is available 24/7 on every corner, on every screen, and just a tap away on a delivery app. Your body is still operating like a survival machine in a world of scarcity, but you're living in a world of endless abundance. That mismatch is exactly why hunger can hijack our attention so aggressively today. Because of this wild mismatch, we really have to separate two concepts, hunger and appetite. People use these words interchangeably, but they are not the same thing. Hunger is the biological, physical need to eat for fuel. Appetite, though, that is the psychological desire to eat. Think about it. You can be completely physically full from dinner and still have an appetite for dessert, right? Or conversely, you can be biologically starving but completely lose your appetite because you're stressed out. Our modern environment is absolutely brilliant at stimulating our appetite. Fast food ads, the smell walking past a bakery, bright packaging, they trick your brain into thinking about food even when your cells are perfectly fueled. Hunger is a need, appetite is a desire. Which explains why we have so many triggers that have literally nothing to do with calories. Think about sadness, boredom, anxiety, loneliness, stress, even celebration. We are humans. We don't just eat for energy. Food is deeply woven into how we care for ourselves and how we connect with others. Reaching for a snack when you're overwhelmed or feeling lonely, that is not a moral failure. It's just human psychology interacting with biology. Your brain learned very quickly that sweet and salty foods trigger pleasure signals that temporarily numb emotional discomfort. So sometimes your body is asking for fuel, sure, but a lot of the time, your heart is just asking for comfort. Now, let's talk about a hidden amplifier of hunger that completely sabotages us: a bad night's sleep. When you don't sleep well, your biology and your environment essentially team up against your willpower. First, being sleep deprived completely wrecks that delicate balance of ghrelin and leptin we talked about earlier. Second, your exhausted brain really struggles with decision-making and emotional control, so your natural resistance to impulses just plummet. Because you're running on empty, your brain desperately seeks out the fastest, most high-calorie energy it can find just to keep you upright. That is exactly why late-night cravings for junk food are so intense. Your body wants recovery, your brain wants relief, and grabbing a quick snack is simply the fastest answer. The whole situation gets even wilder when we look at our digestive system, which scientists often call our second brain. You've got billions of microbes living down in your gut, and they are definitely not just along for the ride. They are constantly communicating with your nervous system. They influence your digestion, your mood, and even the specific kinds of food you crave. Now, throw cortisol, the main stress hormone, into that mix, and things go haywire. For some folks, stress throws the body into a survival state that totally shuts down digestion. For others, stress makes the brain scream for heavy comfort foods to cope with the pressure. Your gut and your brain are basically in a constant negotiation about how to handle the daily stress of just being alive. Okay, so how do we actually navigate all this? The trick is building up your self-awareness. You have to start noticing the difference between real biological hunger and boredom hunger. Real hunger builds up gradually. And here's the giveaway: it can be satisfied by normal, ordinary food. If an apple sounds great, you're probably actually hungry. Boredom hunger, on the other hand, is super stealthy. It hits you suddenly, out of nowhere, it's incredibly picky, and it usually demands one specific flavor or texture. When boredom hunger strikes, you aren't opening the fridge because your cells need calories. You're opening it because your mind is understimulated and it just wants an event to break up the monotony. And when your mind is looking for an event, it almost always reaches for the ancient big three: salt, sugar, or fat. Why? Because in the ancient world, salt meant you were getting crucial, life-saving minerals. Sugar meant you found ripe fruit, a super rare burst of immediate energy. And fat? That was dense, long-lasting fuel that could literally get you through a famine. We crave these specific flavors because evolution hardwired us to seek them out to survive. The catch is, modern food science reverse engineers these exact profiles to hit our brain's reward centers incredibly hard. We aren't just eating food anymore, we're consuming engineered rewards that our ancient biology is basically powerless to ignore. Once you understand all this, it leads to a really profound shift in perspective. Hunger isn't a flaw, it is a protective discomfort. It is so easy to get annoyed by our cravings, our growling stomachs, and those sudden impulses, treating them like they're just getting in the way of our productive day. But they aren't. Hunger is your body interrupting you because it actively values your future. It's a deeply caring mechanism built to stop you from literally collapsing. Think about it. If your body never told you it needed fuel, you just drift into a dangerous energy deficit without even knowing it. As annoying as it can feel, hunger is fundamentally a form of biological care. Our source material really hits the nail on the head, summarizing it like this: hunger is intelligence. It is memory. It is biology. We aren't just simple machines with an on and off switch. We are complex, storytelling animals, driven by a deep chemistry that runs right underneath our consciousness. Every single craving you have, every pang in your stomach, is a tiny chapter in the massive, ongoing story of human survival. When you feel hungry, you're literally participating in a process that connects you to every ancestor who ever had to search for food to stay alive. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. The next time your stomach growls or you find yourself aimlessly staring into the pantry, just take a second to pause and ask yourself, what is your hunger really trying to tell you? Look past that basic feeling of an empty stomach. Are your hormones just predicting an energy drop? Are you totally sleep deprived? Is your brain just bored and looking for some excitement? Or are you maybe just seeking a little comfort after a really tough day? Start listening to the complex biological language of survival happening underneath, because your body has known this language a lot longer than your mind has had words for it. Keep learning, keep listening to your biology, and we'll see you in the next explainer.